Yay, cool. So, oh, okay, before I'm gonna cut this off, but like before we actually start, how do I pronounce your name in English properly?
It's Anne-Liese.
Annelie.
In German, I hate Anne-Liese.
Okay.
You know, it's a very old-fashioned name. So in German, I'm Lisi. And I tried to go with it in English as well for a while. But then I felt so like I do like Anne-Liese. So just Anne-Liese is fine. Over you. Yeah, just not Anne-Liese.
Well, actually, I love how it sounds.
Yeah.
Everyone outside German-speaking countries thinks it's a nice name, but in Germany and Austria, it's a horrible name. It's like, I don't know. It's a name of jokes, for jokes.
Oh, it's not too bad, but we'll go with Annalise for now.
Yes, please.
Okay, cool. So welcome to the Fashion of Web3 podcast. We're really excited to have Annalise with us today. Yeah, why don't you give us a quick background? Why don't you explain your background a bit and tell us what you're up to at the moment?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I love it that it's a female podcast and we're talking about Web3. It's really important to get our voices out there. Yeah, I'm a brand strategist and a future trend expert, and I've been working in this field for many, many years. And yeah, Web3 and the metaverse and fashion and luxury, especially within it, came onto my radar a few, let's say 1.5 years ago. I started talking about it to clients a lot. And before that, I was actually working for a brand in anime. So I'd been seeing, on LinkedIn, people getting into the Bored Apes and changing their profile pics in this community. And I was also linked with a lot of people in gaming, because anime and gaming and this whole culture is one thing. So I was like, what is this? What is happening there? And then of course, also the art area was the NFTs were popping up. But yeah, I really, really got interested in it when I saw Kate Moss, one of the most photographed women in the world, selling her own NFTs. And I thought, wait a minute, this is something really, really interesting. And I'm just going to look into it more. Yeah, so that's where my journey into it all started, and how this part, what we're talking about today, fashion in Web3, has become such a major focus of my work. And I also started, collecting NFTs and learning about projects and going to a lot of events, virtual events like Metaverse Fashion Week. And I just saw the potential and I got really excited. So at the moment, I'm working within some projects like The Hug, Randy Zuckerberg's. I'm one of the community curators, and I'm also on the Moonbeam Media team. I'm also an ambassador for the Fabricant and the World of Women collection. And I also consult brands. Like I just did a project with a Porsche female race car driver. So I'm working with brands who are Web3 native, but I also have brands who are just fashion brands who are coming to me and say, how should we get into this space? What should we be doing? And yeah, it's just been a whirlwind ride. And here I am now talking to you on a podcast. It's very exciting.
Yeah, that's a great journey. And there's so many different things that we could dig into now, but maybe you can just tell us what was the point that you actually jumped into NFTs, and maybe the point where you either got involved with another project or that you actually bought your first NFT.
Well, like I was saying, I was seeing a lot of people change their profile pic on LinkedIn, and it was these typical crypto bros, of course. And I was very, very skeptical. I didn't really understand it. And but I was very intrigued. And the first NFT I bought was in January this year. It was the Alpha Girl. This was actually where I really used my money and said, okay, I'm going to invest in this. I'm going to go ahead with it. Before that, funnily, I was at a lot of mints. You remember the time when it was like midnight and they were dropping? Now it's very different because you've got a window. But I remember being there at midnight when Adidas dropped, and I was like, I have a wallet now, but I didn't put any crypto on there, and I don't really know how to do that. And I don't really dare to do it. So it was a super interesting process for me, because I studied international economics, but I wasn't into the whole crypto thing. I missed out completely. So it was step by step getting more and more interested. And then really, as they say, putting skin into the game changed everything for me, because buying that first NFT was so much fun. I had so much fun choosing the one I was going to buy, and just the whole process of it all, and learning how it is to own digital assets. It was very, very new for me. And I have an 11-year-old son who buys skins on Fortnite. He was like, yeah, whatever, you just buy it. Of course, he buys it. I buy it with a credit card. So it was a very different step. And yeah, and the journey from then on was just being lucky, being very early on some of these female-led projects. My BFF, I got this bracelet because I just listened to their onboarding. And this is how it all started for me. And now I'm just, in the space and on lots of Discord channels, and discovering and still learning a lot and moving along. This place is like at the beginning, and we're all learning. And it's the most surprising part for me was just being the entertainment factor of it all, like how much fun I'm having. And I'm not a gamer. I'm not the target group, I guess. And you wouldn't think a woman, I'm 40 plus, you wouldn't think this is something that would interest me. But I'm just having a lot of fun. I think I said that a lot of times now, actually.
No, actually, I can resonate to some of the, especially the project that you were saying, like, the process, how the drops were happening, like, almost a year ago, and how Adidas happened. And I also was in this BFF onboarding video, supporting my friend who was kind of founding team. And just because I was there, I got an NFT, which was really, really exciting. And you kind of also mentioned about, like how you educate yourself, and maybe that will be our questions. I think because we're into the NFT, sometimes maybe we forget that there is a whole society around us who actually has no idea what's happening. And that's a question. Maybe, do you have any advices how to self-educate when they're trying or are curious about the space, and if they're planning to join the space, whether as the creators and who come up with their projects, or as let's say from the collector side, like,
Mm-hmm. I actually think this very video is still one of the best to start with. So if you Google, I think it's actually called WTF is an NFT. And they just explain everything you need to know from the start. But in the meantime, of course, there's so many communities and so many NFT collections that do their own onboarding. And once you get into a Discord channel, you have the chance to listen to a lot of Twitter spaces. There's lots of educational videos out there. And yeah, I would just recommend getting started somewhere and just dive in and be excited about the story that will unfold for you. And like they always say, do your own research. It's part of the fun. You just get there and you discover from one project, you move on to the next, and no one can really give you advice on that, because it's a very, very personal thing actually. I think if you look at somebody's wallet, it's a very personal thing, what they collect and why they bought into a project. Even at this stage now, with the bear market and the NFTs not being, as exciting as they were from a trading perspective, it's still something very personal. And there's so many projects out there and so many causes that they support, or so many utilities they give you. And if you're starting out, look for a project where there's a lot of education around this space. And if you're more into fashion, try to find a fashion project. If you're more into diversity and inclusion, there's some really cool projects that talk about communities like that too. So it's really very personal. And a vast, how can you say that? Like vast choices now where you want to start.
True. There's so many resources out there, and it's actually so fun to read about so many things. I remember at the beginning it was a bit overwhelming, but at the same time, because Taco was the one who kind of introduced me to the space, it was not that overwhelming as it must be for people now, because there wasn't as much information, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. But
yeah, that's true. I'm actually, I had a list of resources, my trend resources on my website, and I'm reworking that list to include metaverse references. So I don't know how long I'll take to do that, but I'll let you know once it's up there. And then I'm sure I'll make sure that I include educational resources as well.
Yeah, that's
in
a
that
good.
list. Mm.
Speaking about the trend research that you're doing, what are like the current trends that interest you the most, that you find the most exciting?
Well, of course, the metaverse, the advent of this huge shift and transformation, which I do believe. I was just on holidays for 2 weeks, not really on holidays. I had calls, of course, and because the space is moving so fast. But I'm coming back after these 2 weeks thinking about it, and I'm even a bigger advocate of it all. And I don't only see it as, what we have been talking about now, the NFTs and gaming and virtual reality and augmented reality. There's so much going on, and it's moving into a new direction. And I do see that trend influencing everything from e-commerce to how we work, how we do calls like this. This will look so old-fashioned in a few years. We're just going to be like, what? We were on Zoom? We were just 2D, and it was, very awkward. Sometimes when you change the picture or something doesn't work, I think there's so much going on, and it will influence everything. And otherwise, also, of course, sustainability, which in fashion is a huge topic. And here, I like the term. It's not coming from me, but I like the term "fake is the new real." In a way, fake as in materials for physical fashion. There's leather now made from mushrooms. There's spider silk. There's all sorts of materials. This is so exciting. There's so many people out there working on alternatives that will be better for people and the planet. And at the same time, this kind of also encompasses digital fashion. It's fake in a sense, and it's the new real, and that I see also as one of the biggest trends. And yeah, I could go on and on and on. Body positivity, inclusion, diversity, all these things are really on everybody's radar now, and I think people are understanding that they can't, do this greenwashing, whatever, whitewashing, whatever you call it. Now we've entered a new phase of this. You have to be very transparent with what you do, and you have to be very honest. And it's the Gen Z that is coming, into more buying power and also having more of a say in our society. And Gen Z is very different. They just don't want to own a car. They want to own skins. It's a very different way to think about ownership. It's a very different way of thinking about how we work. So I think it's very exciting times ahead, and many trends, of course, are now not only something that we can deal with, but have to deal with, which is the mental health crisis, and also what's going on with our planet. So there's a lot of emergencies going on, and a lot of products and innovations being created right now to tackle these issues. So yeah, a lot is moving right now, and I think in a good direction. I'm very hopeful.
Absolutely agree. I mean, there is so many different directions the metaverse actually can kind of tap in, and then within this specific niche then go kind of scale like limitless possibilities. And something that you said, like, about new fake is a new real, it's something that we actually have maybe in our presentations and slides of our project, is like, when you create your identity in the digital world, which is kind of fake, as you said, right? But at the same time, it's a real representation of maybe you, and how you can in the future, not just within the platform or within the game, like have your identity, but how you can then have this identity like across different platforms, and how you can have another representation of you, but in like the digital form. And well, my question maybe is kind of like related to maybe the project that you work with, or the company that you work with. Like, is there any conversations in this direction? Like, if they look at digital identities as their new target audience within the metaverse space?
Yeah, well, this is one of my favorite topics, actually, this whole representation, because I'm older, so I'm not of this generation of understanding influencers. And I always say, look at them now, look on social media now. You can change yourself completely. When you see this person in real life, she looks totally, or they look totally different. So they're actually, in a sense, already an avatar. Let's be honest, And I kind of feel that here is a chance for the metaverse to be more honest and actually solve problems that we have in Web 2, where we see these pictures of these perfect humans. We think they're real humans. We think they're walking around like this in real life, but they actually look totally different. So we have this misrepresentation, and we think we have to be this perfect. And I think that the metaverse is much more honest, because we're saying, I'm going to create an avatar. This is fake, this is how I want to look. And everybody knows this is maybe not how I look. Maybe it is how I look. But it's something that I created because I sat there and chose, certain traits that I want this character to have, or this avatar to have. So I'm actually thinking that this is a great chance to just put some sense into this all and just be real about it. And if you at one point maybe walk around as your World of Women avatar, then people know. And I'm using a profile pic where I have the alpha girl, and it doesn't really matter. It's so interesting. I actually had more companies approach me not being this real person, and it's kind of like this real and fake is also shifting and molding, and doesn't really matter so much anymore. And I saw this sketch. It was actually an interview with Keanu Reeves, and he said he was explaining to a 12-year-old, 13-year-old the Matrix, and he said, what's real, what's unreal. And this young girl looked at him and said, does it matter? And in a sense, this is also a shift that we're experiencing. And because you said if brands are coming to me and touching upon this point, I haven't done any project in that sense, but I'm in touch with some projects that try to create avatars that include people with disabilities. There's a collection called Nifty Collection that was super interesting. Her name is Giselle. She's running this project, and it's an NFT in a wheelchair, or an NFT with no arms, no legs, and yeah, it's a big chance to also represent people in the metaverse in a very great way. And I think there's a lot of work actually to do, because when you do enter some of these worlds, I'm not going to name some, when you look at the avatars they suggest to you, it's a very specific body type for a female avatar. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do still in that sense.
Loads of work, really. And especially the topic around inclusion and representation of multiple abilities is, I think that's also something very dear to us. Taco actually had a Genesis NFT collection that was very inclusive in terms of visible disabilities, but also the storyline behind it that represented invisible disabilities. And also both our backgrounds are actually kind of related. We studied for a master's degree computer science for accessibility, so we always try to bring this viewpoint into the conversation. And what I wanted to say about younger children, children growing up with this in this environment at the moment, especially also maybe your child, do you think that it will be very normal to just have the digital representation and the real representation as like of people as like two different appearances? And also growing up with this now, do you think it will make a big difference in how people will behave maybe when they're grown up in the sense?
Well, actually, there is a very good essay by the British author Sadie Smith in one of her books. I don't know which one it is. I have it up there on my bookcase, but I can't see what it's called. And she talks exactly about this, but she actually says she doesn't understand it, being Gen X. She doesn't understand how to do her Instagram or Facebook persona, because she doesn't know where to draw the line between what's private, what she should share, what she shouldn't share. And I think this is true for all of us now. We don't really understand it, or of a certain age, you can't get your head around it because you haven't grown up like that. And I cannot really tell you how they are going to see it. I can just say my son is much more relaxed than I am about certain things. And then he's really upset about other things, which I don't really understand. You know, he goes like, oh, they're sharing this. And I'm like, yeah, so, but they're sharing other things, which I don't really understand. So it's like, it's a new language. It's a new way of interacting with each other. It's a new way of social interaction. And I would say myself as a Gen X, I can only stand on the sidelines and observe and have some sort of commentary on it. But I do think that the kids today will come up with amazing new things that we cannot get our head around. It's going to be very different, and it's going to be somewhere, someplace, some 16-year-old is sitting in a garage somewhere, and he's going to come up with the next billion-dollar business based on some totally different social interaction in a gaming universe, maybe, or a totally different way of representing yourself, like you were saying, or a totally different way of what digital assets actually can mean to someone. I don't know. But I know it's going in that direction. I do think that it will be very normal to have digital assets. It will be very normal to have avatars. It will be very normal to dress yourself in the metaverse. But I also think it will be very normal that we will be sitting in a call like this, and I might be wearing a digital dress that doesn't exist in real life. I think that's very soon will be the case.
Yeah. Taco and I agree. We've seen it and it looks great. So yeah, I guess it was just recently that I saw a post on LinkedIn where someone was saying, if you are, I think, working in Web3, or if you work in the digital self-representation or digital fashion space, you should have someone on the team who has a young child from Gen Z, not Gen Z actually. Yeah, Gen Z or even younger.
Maybe that was my post. I posted something like this. I said you should have parents of 11 or 12-year-olds on your team. That was my post.
I wasn't sure whether it was your I think like
thank you.
Shout out. Yes, that was a great post, because I was thinking, yeah, the only way to actually again understand what's going on is to have either a really, like, a person that's really close to you be directly involved, like having a child playing on Fortnite and changing their skins 3 times a day. That's how you understand what's actually going on and the need behind it. So that was a powerful one. And I brought this up because we wanted to ask, what do you think is the role of fashion in general is going to take in this new way of interacting, like in meetings or in metaverses?
Yeah, I think at the very start, we need to ask ourselves, who are we dressing? Are we going to be dressing avatars, or are we going to dress real people with augmented reality? Or are we going to take physical fashion goods, and are we going to enhance that with NFCs, near field communication, where, you know, you can add your smartphone and then you see something around this hoodie, or you get something on your smartphone unlocks and it does something. So there's lots and lots of different avenues we can look at. And my favorite one has been and is right now the augmented reality. I'm a huge fan of DressX. I have been using their filters for the longest time, and I'm just waiting for this to take. I don't know why it's not, you know, not every social media personality is doing this, because they already look really, really cool. And the outfits, you know, just I would love to be sitting here and wearing earrings, which don't exist in real life. I wouldn't care. I would love to do this for my posts and not have to buy something and, you know, have it sent to me and all the logistics and all the pollution. I think there's so many great so much great potential in this. And yeah, at the same time, of course, there's also the avatars that you want to dress and you want to play around, and you're going to events with these avatars in virtual worlds. So it's there's many different avenues. Now I kind of lost track of what the question was, but I think maybe you can repeat.
Yeah, the question was
What
just
role fashion plays in the metaverse. Yeah. So a very big one, because you have to express yourself in real life, and you want to express yourself, and you're going to want to do the same in these virtual spaces. And like I said before, for me, the metaverse is a term that just describes this shift, this merging of our physical and virtual lives. And it's just going to be happening more and more. And fashion is a huge part of it. And so do big consultancies say, and they see it as a billion-dollar business opportunity.
Yes, they do. I have this one number in my mind. I think it was metaverse fashion will make up 10% of the whole fashion industry's revenue by 2030, which is about $50 billion in worth.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I'll let Taco go with our next question.
Yes. Well, my next question will be about maybe creators, because I think we talked more from perspective of the end users, like the community, and from the brand's perspective. But what do you think about the possibilities for independent fashion designers and those who leave the fashion academies, and unfortunately for now they don't have much work opportunities? Like, how do you think the metaverse and general Web3 fashion influence their future and their like opportunities within the space?
Well, I get goosebumps because I think there's so much potential and it's so exciting. And I actually wish I was more creative than I am. I'm hopeless. Like, you give me a pen and a piece of paper and I'm hopeless to draw something exciting. But I really, really appreciate creative people and what they're able to do. And I just think the metaverse is just offering incredible possibilities, because you don't have the constraints of real life. You can go crazy with your imagination. When yesterday I was lucky to go to a demo by Journey and Exclusible, I was able to go into their worlds, and I've been to Journey worlds before with Vogue Business, and I've seen what's possible. But yesterday there was like a golden elephant, and the whole place was so beautiful and so out there. You just feel like, wow, this is like a dream. And I just think being a designer, being a creative, be it fashion, be it interior, be it anything, graphic design, be it material design, there is just endless stuff that you can do now. And there's so many new jobs coming up. I was talking to Adriana from the Fabricant, and she was saying we're going to need stage managers in the metaverse. We're going to, for the fashion shows that are taking place. And there's just I saw on Instagram, there's a metaverse fashion stylist, and you just go like, it's amazing. There will be jobs that we don't really know of yet, and there will be jobs which will be very similar than what is in real life, like stage managers, but there also will be jobs which will be totally different. So I would urge anyone who's in fashion school to take this extra course, if they're not doing it, about the digital design, or to add this to their resume somehow through certificates, through whatever you can do, through internships, because I think this is a really, really good skill to have now. And if we look at how fashion, how recent collections have been looking by some designers, you see the influence of the metaverse. You see it, of course, it's very futuristic looking right now, because everyone after the pandemic was like, future's really trendy. What's next? It's like, there's a lot of hype around that. But I do think that it's also, the aesthetics are going in a direction that is very influenced by the metaverse. And yeah. And I do think the future is phygital. It's going to be a digital product that you get with your physical product. And in most cases, I do think that's going to be the case in fashion and in luxury for, very soon.
I agree. And I specifically agree with this topic of roles within the metaverse, because like when we talk about our platform, this is one of the main things actually that we want to address. Like, what we think is like, metaverse shouldn't be just a place where people are forced to come, but the place where they can find the new ways how they express, not only from on the visual side, but also from a professional side, like, how they can take different roles and how they can start unpacking their opportunities within the space and taking different roles. So it's really exciting topic for us, and maybe we can continue talking about it after the podcast. But yeah, it's really, really exciting. And yeah, Pauline, you had a question.
Yes. Starting to wrap up slowly, what do you think will make the metaverse a lasting thing?
I don't think this is even a question, because it's not about the metaverse lasting. It's happening. It's happening now, and it's whatever you understand by it. And like I said before, my explanation or my understanding of it is that it's a transformation and a shift, as in physical and virtual are merging. And this is happening. This is happening in e-commerce. You can put glasses on virtually. It's going to be done much, much better as technology improves in the next little while, and there's going to be a 3D layer on the internet. There's going to be just possibilities, like I said before, how we're going to meet in virtual spaces, which are going to be happening. And I don't see, of course, this hype that we have now continuing, but I just don't even think it's a question for it to last. It's going on, and it will take place in every aspect. And I went out there, I think half a year ago, I said everyone will be owning NFTs. I really put myself out there. We might not be calling them NFTs, but I do think a lot will shift to the blockchain. I think this is where it's going. So whatever, if you also put blockchain under the topic of metaverse, then, we'll be sitting here tomorrow talking about this. So to answer your question, it's not a question for me.
Okay, that's a great answer. Yeah, we would like to thank you for joining us, and it was a great conversation. I think I would actually love to continue the conversation and maybe have a second part at some point. But yeah, it was cool.
Thank you.
It was fun.
I also enjoyed myself a lot with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, and last one, where can people find you?
Oh, they can find me. I post on Instagram a lot, which is not very metaverse friendly yet, I have to say. I post there nearly every day because that's where I mostly show my journey into the space. But I'm also on LinkedIn as Anne-Liese Prem, and on my website, tomorrowstories.com.
Perfect.
And Twitter as well, but not so much.
Okay.
Multi-channel. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, speak soon.